Nope. Perfect. So we are live, and just attendees can join us now. Patrick will join us in a minute, I'm sure. All right. Hello. We're just going to start in a second, but it's very good to have you here. Just give us a minute to give people a chance to join, and then we're going to start. All right. Lovely. So I think then we'll kick off today's session. So I'm very happy to have you all here today. And so today is the final session of our series of 3 on circular economy of food. So our previous live sessions were a case study with Agricycle Global and a chat with Jeff Anderson yesterday, who gave us an investor perspective. The link to the recording on Monday's session is now, will be in the chat in a second, and you can find it on the Digital Labs. Today's session and yesterday's is also being recorded, and notes and the recording will be made available on the Digital Labs platform. And it's now my pleasure to welcome you to today's topical roundtable. So Startup Roadmap for Implementing Circular Principles with our CEF Prize shortlisted teams. And we always try to have a balanced panel, but today, due to some unexpected changes, we're joined by all men. Welcome. However, we are covering the globe with our speakers from Brazil, Ghana, Kenya, and Australia, and our host, Simona, who's based in Italy. Many of you will now know Simona from our previous talks, but for those of you who are new today, let me introduce you to her again. So Simona is a researcher with a background in management and food innovation. In her professional experience, she's worked in China as a consultant, in India for Ashoka, in South Africa and Mexico as part of the Global Entrepreneurship Summer School. And like I said, today she's calling in from Italy, so she is very international. And in the past 5 years, she's collaborated with different food organizations, interviewed 500 and more food experts globally, and coordinated teams of researchers on various research areas. She's very familiar with Thought for Foods and was a mentor in the TFF Challenge. And her current focus is on circular economy, making her the ideal moderator. So Simona, it's a pleasure to have you here again.
Thank you. Thank you again, Marie. And hi and welcome everybody to our third session of the Circular Economy of Food Special. So thanks for joining us once again. So today's session, as Marie already mentioned, is titled A Startup Roadmap for Implementing Circular Principles. We will be talking about the circular economy of food price shortlisted teams. We will learn about their stories, their journey. And so we are now joined by all of them here, namely Feitosa Foodtech, the prize winner. And then we have Kua Coffee that received a special mention, Tiger House, special mention too, and also Live Up and Agricycle Global. So welcome again, and it's going to be a very interesting and international conversation as we're all located in different parts of the globe. So I'm very excited and looking forward to this. So I would love to start the session with each of you briefly introducing yourselves and telling us more about your work and your projects.
So hello, I'm Fabrizio. I'm a CEO and founder at Feitosa Foodtech. So just to let you know, guys, we work with bananas. So this is our big project, what we do. Our project in a circular economy principle, we apply connecting and engaging the banana growers with our principles and our project as well. So we buy the banana waste from the banana growers and we process them and we make our sauce and jams, and we have as to beer and snacks as well. So we use 100% the bananas, even the banana peels, where we make a bananata, is a kind of a condiment, and we use 100% recyclable packaging as well. So we work in a big chain where our product is not the main thing, but the concept of circular economy, helping and supporting the customers, delivering a nice and a health, sustainable and tasty product, and support the banana growers applying and help them to use the agroforest concept too. That's our project in a circular economy concept and principles.
Cool, thanks Fabrizio. My name is Darcy. I'm from Australia and I am the co-founder of Kua Coffee. So while you guys look at the entire food journey of bananas, we've decided to look at the entire food journey of coffee. We started unexpectedly 3 years ago. My co-founder and I were in Uganda, which is a very different country to Australia, something quite different to what we'd experienced. And we met a number of people who had grown up in the coffee growing regions, and then talking about their experience growing coffee and comparing that against our experience drinking coffee, we realized that there was a complete disconnect between those two experiences. So that means that as an Australian coffee drinker, we could accidentally be contributing to problems on the ground in Uganda, or exacerbating the effects of climate change, and also causing a lot of waste issues here in our city of Sydney. So we founded Kua to address that problem, and we import coffee from Uganda and sell it locally in our city, and ask coffee drinkers 2 questions. So the first question is, number 1, where does your coffee come from? And number 2, where does your coffee waste end up? And we think that if people understand the story behind the answers to those 2 questions, not just for coffee, but for food products and consumption as a whole, then hopefully we'll be able to consume in a much more circular and fair way across the world. So looking forward to learning from all of the other panelists and diving into that a little bit deeper through the conversation.
All right, so nice to meet you guys. I'm Pedro.
From banana to coffee.
Okay,
Sorry.
I take it. Right. Okay. So, hello everyone. It was quite a sad revolution after. The irony in this is many Ghanaian children, including some adults, still stay malnourished. Tap into these raw materials and its byproducts by processing them into wholesome snacks. That is our tiger nut milk drink and biscuits. And also tiger nut laundry starch, which is a household product. We're targeting some food waste. We make use of every bit and pieces of the nuts. Nothing goes out at waste at Tiger House. We are Tiger House, and I am Sampari Sobana from Ghana. I'm looking forward to studying a lot from today's session. Thank you.
Hi, sorry, Sampar, for seeing you. So I'm Pedro. I'm from Live Up. I'm responsible for the sourcing and sustainability areas. Live Up is a food tech startup that makes tasty, healthy, and convenient food. So we're not specified in any ingredient on any product, but we have a whole variety of over 100 products on our website. We are a digital native vertical brand, so which means we are direct to consumer, and we take care of business from end to end. So our aim is to build a better food system in which every meal makes a positive contribution for those who eat, but also for those who cook and for those who grow food. So our work started at the farms. We have partnership with smallholder organic farmers across Brazil, where we share our supply demand and plan the amount of vegetables that each producer is going to grow. So when they know as soon as they put the seed at the ground that that crop is already sold for a fixed price, so they can actually plan better. And we have agronomists and agroecologists that visit them monthly. So we know also how the crops and the partnership itself are developing. Then the real chefs and nutritionists and engineers design our recipes and processes to make a tasty and healthy meal with no preservatives and additives, just like Fabricio does at Feitosa. And most of our meals are frozen, so we cut out waste throughout the whole chain. So from the food production, because it's planned, from storage, processing, distribution, and consumption. And finally, we sell the products online. And we, at every interaction, we collect data and feedback to improve our decision making. So right now we have an NPS of over 80 points, which is a really remarkable achievement. And we sold over 2 million meals last year and sourced over 300 tons of organic vegetables from these partners. And now our biggest challenge is to close the packaging loop in order to make our process more circular. So really looking forward to talk to you today.
All right. Greetings to you. My name is Patrick Dorito. I'm Director of East Africa Agricycle. Agricycle is a social enterprise that is founded in USA, Milwaukee, in Wisconsin. We work in a number of countries in Africa and the Caribbean. We have a variety of products, just like Pedro. We don't have one value chain, but we have different value chains in the dried fruit industry and also alternative energy, basically coconut charcoal. So with the dried fruits, we work with farmers in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. We are expanding that to Liberia. We have another, and that dried fruit product, we have branded it as Jali. We have another product that is called What the Flour. Basically, this is a gluten-free breadfruit flour that in East Africa is being sourced from Tanzania, and it is also being sourced in some countries in Caribbean, specifically Haiti. We have the tropical ignition, which is our charcoal product made from coconut shells, and basically mostly consumed in USA. So we have a network, or an outreach network of that 5,000 farmers across the globe.
Thank you very much. Your stories are so interesting. So I'm really looking forward to continue our conversation. So I'm curious, and I believe also our attendees, to know more about your experience and your journey in the TFF challenge. Could you tell us something more about your experience?
Oh, I can start. So I met the TFF in 2018 and in Rio, and I could understand what this big community wants. So, and I'm connected with them with the same mind, the same purpose, and I met a lot of people there working to as a change makers and to do something locally but globally in the same time. And I decided to pitch like an example, with a couple of people about my proposal, and they say, yeah, you have to apply in the next year. You have a nice project. You have a nice solution, and even is locally. So you have to do that. And I say, okay, I will do. So I'm a chef, and I use this kind of skills to make our project more like tasting and more healthy to people, because I use and I match my technique, my kitchen skills, and my how can I say that, how to prepare a nice food, and with the sustainable and sustainable and health purpose. So when I decided to sign into the TF challenge, I'm not like so how can I say that, I'm not believe when what I can like offer, and I can win the prize. Yeah. When I got the results, so my team, because now we are 5, and when we start, I just me work in the Feitosa, and we not believe about that, because we have a work for many years, in even since 2016, and sometimes it's something hard to believe in this kind of results, because okay, yeah, 5,000 I think, or more, 5,000 startups got in this TFF challenge, and we won. So sometimes it's unbelievable for us, but yeah, we got it, and we won. So that's this is my my case, and about the TFF challenge.
Okay, and I would say before this TFF challenge, that's somewhere early part of this year, though we were practicing some circular stuff, but we didn't know what we were really doing was circular. So it was through this application that made us know this and this that we were doing all fell under circular. So we had to find a better ways of doing this. And about the special mention, it's like it's giving us some kind of exposure. You'll be there and a colleague will tell, oh, I saw this publication about you, that you've gotten a special mention in TF, and through that we've gotten to people who are getting to know us the more, because we are small in a small country like Ghana. So this is the kind of exposure that the TFF challenge has given us so far.
For us, it was also very, very interesting. We gave our first talk for the TFF last year at Piracicaba, which is an agri hub here in São Paulo. It was very interesting to get to know more that such networks exist, and then you can actually connect to a lot of people and share your knowledges. And then we got in contact with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation when we know that they launched the food initiative in some cities, which is included São Paulo. And then when we saw that the TFF challenge was on circular economy, that was like a perfect match. And it was very interesting for us because it's a way to identify our strengths and identify like what we must tackle next. Because at many times, like we don't have we do have the time, but we don't sit down and write everything we are doing and structure everything in a presentation or in the structured questions. So it was very interesting to kind of register what we are doing and being able to know in a more clear way what we can do next, and also to get inspired by many other initiatives in very similar and also very different ways.
Yes. Let me be honest, I was not initially involved in the process of application with TFF. My colleague Ashley was, but I would perhaps speak more into what TFF has done in terms of opening our eyes to the circular economy of food aspects. One, like my friend Sampare, we didn't know actually that what we were doing was significantly circular economy of food. And so it is through the application that we realized, one, that is what we are doing. And we generated much more interest in circular economy of food, which now has, we have taken it to a level that I will speak on later, where we have integrated it into all aspects of our metrics, what we are measuring, what we are deliberate about, because the more we studied it and the more we investigated it, the more we realized the value and the more we saw how it is integrated into our mission.
I guess I'm the last. I remember finding this online. I'm not exactly sure how I came across it, but my first big question, I think Maria might have actually messaged you, was whether coffee counts as a food. And once we found out that it does and it ticks all of the boxes of the TFF challenge, I was really impressed by how it was more than just an application process for a grant, but it was really a community. And I think that that shows through in how quite quickly you read the values of TFF and how it's all about collaboration and sharing and open sourcing your models. And I think for the circular economy, that's definitely something that we as an organization are really hoping to achieve. We don't want to, patent the way that we collect all the waste. We would love other people to copy us. And I thought that that was really cool that there was that same mindset with TFF.
Thank you so much. Wonderful.
Can I comment on Patrick's speak? So we also didn't know that our project was such a circular model, and that was also very interesting for us to get this recognition and know that we are going in such direction that we can also communicate that in a better way, because the circular economy principles are quite natural. You need to do everything more efficient, and you cannot have waste in order to have a better operation itself. So I think it was very interesting in that sense as well.
And I'd like to contribute with Pedro, because here in Brazil it's something new, and usually industries, the big industries and big companies know about this concept, about circular economy. Food is something very new, and when we start to understand, so Feitosa Foodtech understand about how to apply these principles, we saw many benefits, not only for us, not only for the growers, not only for the customers, but to the whole the chain and the entire chain. And this is something we believe as a Feitosa Foodtech, but I think Pedro too, will change our food market in Brazil, and help to everybody get and hand this flag about circular economy like us. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been very, very interesting to see you adding up on each other. So very, very interesting stories. And I'm also, of course, glad that TFF has helped you so much rediscovering more about your own idea and reflecting and implementing new aspects. We introduced this aspect a little bit already. I would like you to tell us something more about the supply chain. So talking about supply chains, you cover different parts of it. We see that some of you are more similar, some others are more different. So how do you specifically integrate circular economy of food principles in the different aspects of the supply chain where you operate? So more specifically, maybe with the farmers, when you use the entire product, when you approach the final consumers, when it comes to packaging, and when it comes to measurement as well.
Okay, so we adapt and implement circular economic principle by three main ways. The first one is We call it that one industrial symbiosis. That is where we have integrated our production line so that there is a transfer of byproducts from one production line to the another. For instance, currently we are operating 3 products from 3 production lines, with the core raw material being the tiger nut. So after crushing the tiger nuts, it goes through a process called separation, where the juice moves and the juice moves into the production of the drink, and the chaff goes into the production of the biscuits. So just at that stage, we're talking about 2 products generated at that stage. And then the juice goes to the next stage, where over there the juice goes through the refinement and sedimentation stage. We're getting 2 products there. The starch goes into the production of the starch, and the juice continues the production of the drink through pasteurization and other things to get the final products. So we are getting 3 products in all. Ordinarily, if we were to operate a linear economy, we would have gotten only the milk, and about 25% of the raw materials would have gone waste. But because we're operating circular, we're able to generate 3 other products from that chain. The other thing that we do is, in our production, heat that ordinarily should have gone waste is being converted and reversed for the drying of our chaff. One other thing is, that one has to do with more with the farmer connection link. During salting and washing, nuts that have sprouted or about sprouting is collected and sent to the farmers for recultivation. The other thing that we do is, we call it convenience substitution. It simply means we substitute materials that are difficult to degrade with biodegradable materials. That is applied in the area of our packaging. We've adapted paper biodegradable eco-friendly packaging, which helps us to be more circular. And the last thing I will talk about before my brothers can also come in, it's about we incentivizing our consumers on the need to segregate waste and return some of the plastic waste to us for a token, so that they will feel motivated to help in the whole circular processes that we implement. All right, so I will leave for my brothers to come, so later we can all. Thank you.
So for us, the key area where we implement the principles of the circular economy probably is similar in terms of incentivizing our consumers to do something different with their waste. So in Australia, 93% of coffee grounds typically end up in landfill. And as a country that drinks 6 billion cups of coffee a year, that's a huge volume of unnecessary waste. So we deliver coffee in big reusable drums, and also give our customers an empty drum, so that as they drink their fresh coffee, they put all of the waste in another drum. And when we deliver more fresh coffee, we pick up the waste, and then that waste is distributed to reuse partners, where it's used as a fertilizer or a mushroom substrate, and even sometimes in skincare products. And I think that that's kind of our core circular economy piece. And we try and make the drums really beautiful, so that the people who are drinking the coffee actually see it as a tangible example of the circular economy in action, rather than just something that happens behind the scenes.
Yes, our approach to circular economy is a bit more holistic, different levels of it that we observe. And I would first of all speak about the closed nutrient loop, where we ensure that as much as possible, the farmers we are working with are utilizing the natural resources available to them and getting them back into the soil. This is mainly through conservation agriculture. And in this, as a company, actually, we have invested in agricultural extension officers. Some of our field officers are agricultural extension officers who train on conservation agriculture, but we have also built strategic partnerships with organizations and government institutions that are very well informed on conservation agriculture. But I would say the area that we fit in best in the circular economy of food is in the diversification of production. And basically here is where because our core mission is to reduce food waste in rural settings, especially in Africa. If I could give an example with mangoes, Kenya in itself Kenya alone produces about 700,000 metric tons of mangoes a year, half of which never even leaves the farm. It's wasted there. So we move in and we help farmers turn that fruit that would have gone to waste into something that they make money from, and they make premium amounts of pay from it. We are also quite well involved in, as I said, in the tropical, in coconut charcoal. After the consumption of the coconut meat, that shell mostly is thrown around. As a matter of fact, we are almost getting paid. I wouldn't say we are, but even the local governments are pretty impressed by our work. They are going around collecting the shells and bringing them together and turning them into charcoal. So I would say that's the area that we are most strongest in. One thing I would want to say, and this may interest Darcy, is that we experiment a lot in different products, we diversify, and currently we are partnering with an organization in Uganda to convert, to make coffee flour from the waste shells. And so that is something I would want to discuss with you in another sessions, perhaps after this.
Right. So at Live Up, our main aspects that integrating the circular economy principles are at sourcing of our ingredients and the food processing itself. So mostly what we have been working on is integrating our food supply chain. So getting actually to know who are the people that are producing the food and sharing our demand planning with them. So they know exactly what to grow and the amount of food to grow. In Latin America, 28% of the food waste is located at the production. And if we can plan and we can guarantee that the farmer know how much they need to produce and how much they're gonna send it to us, then we can cut this waste almost to zero. And also that 22% is on handling and storage. So almost 50% of the food waste in Latin America is for the production and the handling and storage. So our production is also made on demand. So we have, as I said, like over 100 SKUs, and there's no single day where we produce the same recipes. We always produce the recipes that the clients are demanding more. So we have a really lean model where we ask the farmers to deliver the vegetables in one day. The following day we process it, and then the next day it's already packaged and frozen. So we have a very lean processes. And then after the food is packaged, then also the food waste is almost zero, because as it's frozen, it does not spoil, or at least it lasts like for 12 months in the refrigerator. But especially, I think the main point is really the integrating and getting to know the food suppliers. I think there's a lot of either big or small companies that relies a lot on distributors, which is not specifically bad. But you need to know if the distributors also know who are they buying from and how much the food growers are getting from it. So it's really a matter of getting as much as transparency as you can, and then give that for the customers as well, because that's also a value, as Darcy was saying, like, do you know where your coffee comes from? It's a very special feature to have.
So, and to Feitosa Foodtech, our main product is banana, and we have a 40% in the banana waste every month, and during the summer they can reach something around 60% of banana waste. So it's a high numbers, and very worried. We very worry about that. So, and the other problem that we have, and we apply the circular economy, is about buy from the local producers. We use, for example, sugarcane vinegar from flax. Is the first sugarcane vinegar in Brazil, and this is organic. It's very good and sweet. This is help our product to be more sweet and not sour. Yeah, and we decided to use a local producers and local companies and startups to reduce and support to help to reduce the CO2. And we use paper packaging, and the glasses we use is a small jars to store in stores and in our customers market in a small places, not using the big places to store this kind of our products. And the other thing, so the banana waste that we buy usually per week, they sell for 10 tons of that. So it's too much, and sometimes we don't have, we don't know how to handle it, and sometimes we donate a part of that to support, to try to decrease these big numbers a week, and per year it's a lot of money that they waste too. So we try to make money and pay them about the banana waste too. So we have to do this, doing and to help this economic problem and paying for waste, but it's still good and still nutrition too.
Great. So thank you very much for these interesting inputs. That can be very inspiring for all our attendees, and there may be entrepreneurs and running their startups that have some circular economy of food principles. About this, let's talk about another critical factor, which is communication. What language works and what language doesn't work in your experience? Maybe Kua Coffee, for example, can start first.
Yeah, we sell coffee at a premium price because all along the value chain, I guess we take the best option, and then the prices add up, and we end up trying to communicate why that is important to a facilities manager typically, who is often KPI'd on their budget. So it can be a difficult conversation. And when we initially went to market, we explained that, oh, it's a circular economy product, and that's why it has all of these benefits, and you should buy it. And that just didn't translate. And that's why, I guess, after a number of iterations and probably landing on it just by accident one day, and someone gave us good feedback, we went to the two questions that I introduced with, which is, where does your coffee come from, and where does your coffee end up? And I would love some feedback on those questions, but from our experience, that's the simplest way that we can communicate how we integrate the circular economy within our product, but also the problem with drinking a cup of coffee when you don't know the answer to those two questions. And I think it makes people think and compare a linear value chain to a circular value chain, even if they don't understand what the circular economy is. So using the most simple and thought-provoking language possible has been our learnings, but it can be a really challenging thing. So curious to see how other people approach it.
Who wants to go next? Patrick. Perfect.
Oh, all right. Thank you. Well, we have a feature in our product, and specifically our Jelly Core product. That's the dried fruit product. We call it Find My Farm. Basically, it's a barcode where the end user, the retailer, the buyer at the retail level can be able to use his or her phone to scan and it opens up to a website where the story of the producers, that woman in the village who produced that dried mango or that dried pineapple or that dried jackfruit, can be able to, the user can be able to read about that woman and know her story and know, how, and even get the background of the level of wastage that happens in their community. So that is in our simple way how we are communicating to our clients. Besides, of course, using a lot of the social media platforms but we also don't just communicate to the end users. It is also to the producer end of it, where they need to understand why we need to take better care of our environment. One of the things that I think I had shared this in another session, if you go to Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, you will find from far, even from the air, you will see a big forest. When you get to the ground, you will realize that that forest is a jackfruit forest. But now that fruit is hardly sold anywhere. It is the biggest fruit in the world. It can weigh up to 15 kilograms. And if a farmer is lucky to sell that fruit, he will sell it for not more than $1. And you can imagine the level of frustration. So farmers are cutting down jackfruit trees. So we are going to them and telling them, hey, look, we have we are buying jackfruit dried products at a premium price. You can retain your trees and make money from it. And whereas we may not at this point be able to buy every single jackfruit available here, you never know the direction that this kind of stuff will take, but you need to start conserving those trees. So in a small way, that's how we are making people understand about circular economy.
Nice. That's also a very good point, that it's not only communicating with the customers, but also communicated with everything that is related to the operation, right? At LiveUp, we communicated mostly by website and Instagram or other social medias for the clients. But I think one aspect that is very important is to ask the customers how they want to have this information, how they want to receive this information. Because we spent 2 years ago some time making like a very beautiful web page where there's like we tell about our farmers and got a lot of visuals and interviews and so on. But then we realized the clients wouldn't go on the website and at the footer and click on the web page. So it's very important to have that aligned with the customers. And now we start sending like some messages, some postcards with the deliveries. Because they said the moment that they want to hear about us is actually when they receive the product. So we deliver it online, so there's not a store. And that was a very, very interesting insight, or either in the packaging. So also if your packaging allows you to do so, that you also put some stories and communicate everything you do over there. And the QR code is also something we want to achieve, but we haven't been there yet. So that's very glad to hear about what you have been doing, Patrick. And regarding communicating with the producers, we also invite them over to get to know our facilities and get to know our processes and understand like why do we need such a standard in a specific product in order to process in the right way. And actually they're really happy to be there and see like, oh, that's my carrot over there being cooked and being processed. So it's also a way of integrating such a chain in more circular way.
Okay, so my colleagues have talked enough about the consumers, but I would like to talk about as a startup who wants to integrate cellular economy into so that we all get the angles to it. To someone who wants to integrate cellular economy, I want to tell him to be positive about everything he's doing. Focus on the need to prevent wastage in the environment, and please not to talk about the profit per se. Because like Jeff said yesterday, the profit wouldn't come at a go. It comes over time. So you should have the future in mind so that you get the balls to be able to implement the self principles, and it will eventually pay at the end of the day.
So we use some strategy to communicate. We work with a nice and involved and engaged storytelling. and sharing the positive things, what we do and what our banana growers do too. Usually we use social media too, because we know many people stay there, and sometimes they stay more time than they sleep. Yeah, and we know this is work very well, but in the same time we have a strategy to communicate companies, use another ways to communicate more professional and the big companies what we are doing, what our goals. And other than that, we have a positive impression when we use our communicate in the labels, because in the label sometimes you just put your logo and the flavor, but we used to chat and share a positive word as well about sustainability and circular economy, what we can do with the sauce, what you can prepare, and what can comes inside the ingredients too. The negative, when we use the word upcycling, sometimes people don't understand what upcycle means. They think maybe upcycling something, this is a waste, but not a waste, a negative waste. We just reusing something and put creativity and innovation on that. That's it. And we want to reduce and be more positive and create more positive impacts in the nature. That's it. But some words we have to take care about that, because sometimes people don't understand exactly what means, and they can maybe think in a negative way what we do, for example.
It's so nice to see that you are already learning from each other during this panel. So very, very nice. And we are here to build a startup roadmap for implementing circular economy of food principles. So what are the lessons that you have learned that could be maybe beneficial to others? And what do you wish you would have learned or known sooner?
I'll just quickly, I think it was you, Pedro, mentioned that some of your decisions around the circular economy just made sense. And I think that that's how our initial approach was. Why would you package 10 kilograms of coffee in 10 single-use bags when you could just deliver them in a 10-kilogram drum? So starting to think about where you might be able to make your processes easier for yourself are often part of the circular economy naturally. And then adopting some of those words that we were talking about that allow you to communicate that really clearly to your customers means that those processes that are also easier for your business, better for the environment, then become a value add because it is a new space. So we started doing coffee our way because it made sense to us. And then suddenly that was the number one reason that we were selling coffee compared to our competitors. So it doesn't have to be a complicated approach. It can just be how might we make our processes more efficient and actually implementing that, even though no one else seems to be around you.
Yeah, adding on that, I think the more natural way you communicate it, I think the easier is for the consumer to understand. One thing we have learned a lot, as I said, about the packaging is to listen to the customer. So do not assume that you know what they want, because if you make such assumptions, then you start developing and you start further making decisions, and then you need to restart all over again in order to make it right at the first place. So do it iteratively. So try as much as you can to interview them and get to listen and to make like deep conversations. So what we are implementing right now is to have at least 2 clients to talk to every week, only regarding sustainability and sourcing. So we actually test our assumptions as soon as we are thinking about implementing them, and be on the field. So especially about food, like you need to know what your ingredients are coming from. So there was one big food service company that was talking with us, and they wanted to implement such like sourcing and direct relationship with farmers. And then I've asked if they had any agronomists in the teams, and they have like over 2,000 employees, and all of them was in Sao Paulo at offices, working at offices and buying from distributors. So I think like the first step is to talk to everyone, even if it's customers or even if it's the food growers. And one thing I wish we had known sooner is, there's the customer and what they want, and there are what do you think about your company, or what your strategy and your concepts are. And for example, like we haven't thought about seasonality in the first place. Like our portfolio is made throughout the whole year. And then when we start planning with the farmers, we had some problems. Even though Brazil has a really good climate weather, a really good weather regarding seasonality, there are some problems and some challenges. And now it's hard to communicate to customers that he won't have broccoli throughout the whole year, because he's already used to buying broccoli throughout the whole year. So also like thinking about your business or your strategy at the very beginning and trying to implement that as soon as you can. It's also something very, very important that we've learned.
Okay. This is nice to share, because we understand how responsible we are about the behavior customers as well. So we are responsible to help them to be more correct, and you learn about that. So if we share a wrong message or something about that, probably they can catch them and still working in a bad road, you know. But we learned how important we can help them to change and to be more in a good in a positive road, and try to improve their behavior. Other than that, different than Pedro, we have banana all the season, all the year. And sometimes it's hard to handle it, because all the times we have bananas and natural ones, agroecological ones, and to handle it, sometimes it's very hard because it's too much. And we learn too, and I wish in the future we have a lot of products, and we creating other solutions and to solve this problem too. So we have to use our smart minds in our team to create other solutions with this a lot of bananas that we have, and applying all the time the circular economy on that. So how to decrease the waste and increase the numbers of the good products too.
Any
I think the lesson
Great.
All right, thank you. I think the lesson we are learning is one, being more deliberate about CEF, and especially communicating it within ourselves, and integrating it more in our project design and intervention designs. But we're also picking a lesson on being patient with our producers or farmers, because we are introducing something entirely new. I remember going to this community where almost 3/4 of their mangoes goes to waste, and we had samples of dried mangoes, and we were giving it to them, and they had never tasted a dry mango. And the assumption was that the uptake of the drying technology would be as instantaneous as how they responded to the sweetness of the mango. But that was not the case, because you know, with the category of farmers we work with, for example, and where they are there are no safety nets. So investing even very limited resources in something new takes more convincing than just showing them what value it is. You need to hold their hand and work with them more intimately than that.
Great, thank you very much. Let me know if you want to add some other points. Apart from what we have discussed now, I would like to introduce a little game now, and I would like to ask you, to each of you, to choose 3 keywords related to the circular economy of food and to your projects. 3 main words that you feel represent your circular economy of food principles.
Yes, we'll give them a second to think about it.
Sure.
We can see them all writing down, giving this a think.
Very, very well. We see you challenged now. It's a little challenge inside the challenge.
And let us know when you're ready. If you're the first one, maybe no one's used your word yet. Although you can definitely have similar words. Don't be put off by that, but yeah.
Definitely. And also really the first 3 words that come to your mind. That's the purpose.
All right, I think I got mine. So it would be integration, feedback, and organic.
Okay, I would talk about impactful, natural, and organic.
So I have the resilience, innovation, and sustainable.
I have digital, nutrient loop, and cascading value. I don't know whether phases qualify.
I also had resilience. I have closed loop, and I have holistic.
Oh, thank you so much. So fast. So since we are building this startup roadmap, and we're giving some advice also to others on how to implement these circular economy of food principles, and we're giving them your perspective and the story of your journey and your adventure in an entrepreneurial journey. So what do you believe is still needed for the transition to circular economy of food? What do you see happening in the future? What do you see that it's needed? And how can, for example, research and entrepreneurship can play a role?
All right.
Okay, I would say okay, I would say that I believe the gospel of the cellular economy has not well been preached to the general public. Going forward, it's about time we make society know that over the last 30 years, global extraction of raw materials has increased by 80%, and that is very dangerous to the environment. We have to preach to make people know that of all this 80% extraction, about 60% of that lands of those raw materials are left unconsumed and land at the landfill sites. If people are made to know about this and educated on the need for us to save our environment, everyone will buy into the circular idea and wouldn't mind paying more for a cellular product. And people will know that to be able to prevent waste, we all have to go circular rather than the usual linear production, the linear unholistic approach that we adapt to consumption.
All right, could I go? I don't know whether Pedro wants to go first. Fine, thank you. I think looking at it from a bird's eye view, there needs to be more and much more involvement of government. This goes into policy formulation and that level of intervention. If I could give our experience here in East Africa regarding, for example, organic farming and conservation agriculture, you would be surprised that some of the biggest opponents we have faced have come from ministries of agriculture who absolutely do not believe in it, because the governments have been heavily invested in the linear approaches of farming, for example, utilization of chemical fertilizers. In their manifestos, political manifestos, they have spoken about setting up factories for manufacture of fertilizers. And then here you are coming telling farmers that fertilizers are not good. Who will hear you? So I think it is time we deliberately started making attempts to influence governments at policy level.
An advice, yeah, to people who running and startup and to set goals, even if you have a short, a mid, and long term of goals, you have to set goals, and we have to start as well. So if you have idea and if your idea is on the paper, start then and try to improve in the way. Work as a community and try to start in your building, in your town, in your city. This is important to start in a small way in increasing and growing in the way too. So connect to others. So try to bring your family, friends, and everybody are your customer. Your family is your customer too. And all the time try to solve something you believe, not what market wants, but what you believe. Because to be resilient, you have to work on something that you love and you believe. That's my advice. That's how I do. And sometimes it's hard, but you have to keep working because the love is the first thing what we do. That's it.
Yeah, that's really, really inspirational, and it's really true. I really agree on that as well, Fabricio. I think if you the communities also has a very strong power, because if you inspire one community and then inspire others, and then get this network effects. But especially what you said, that making it small and then growing it further, I think it's very important. One thing we realized is that we were working a lot on packaging, how can we make our packaging more sustainable, but we have not communicated at all to anyone. So when we started interviewing the customers, they started saying well, I wouldn't expect Live Up to be working at that field, because we never talked about that. So I think also if we state in a very clear way what is our ultimate goal, where we want to achieve, if everything would run smoothly and right, our expectations are achieved, what do we envision for the future, either for Live Up or for the food system, for everyone. So I think if we create this vision and make it clear, it becomes easier for collaboration and connections to happen, and then actually to achieve what we want to achieve and what we believe, especially. So just as you mentioned.
I can only really echo what's already been said, but perhaps I'll draw a link. Fabricio, you were talking about how you should work on what you believe, and I 100% agree, and that's definitely what we do. But there becomes a point when, if the market doesn't know that there's a problem with all the other products out there, you can't, you're going to struggle to sell your own product. And I think that's where we need to, as Sampare said, preach. And the more that people that we preach the principles of the circular economy, and the more that that becomes mainstream language and the more that people look for it, the more that what we believe is the right solution is going to become what the market wants. And then that's going to kind of, I guess, unlock hopefully a whole stream of circular solutions and startups, which would be pretty good.
Yeah, also just complemented what I was saying. I think one other point would be technology. So when you ask like what would be like researchers and entrepreneurs could be working on, I think it like a lot of technology connecting all these dots that we have mentioned can be very, very powerful. So especially regarding like chain integration and making like people get to know the problems and get to know the solutions from each other. But also technology regarding, for example, packaging. So I think a lot of circular or linear productions have a lot of problems to do with packaging. So I think that's also a very interesting point, that there are a lot of space and to entrepreneur or to endeavor on.
And maybe just adding just something slight there regarding the need for social enterprises and institutions that are dealing with the circular economy, circular perspective of all these things, is the need to work together. What I have realized, for example, in East Africa, is that there are many organizations like us who are doing similar things that are circular, only they either don't call it so or they don't know it. And so they are doing it in silo, they are doing it alone. So if there is a way that these could be brought together, we would have a greater voice. And because of course, going to the levels that I'm discussing here about influencing policies, for example, is not something that you will do alone. But if you have a critical mass, which I believe is there only needs to be deliberate effort to bring these voices together. Then we're going to have the kind of influence I think is going to be very important for this model to move forward.
Thank you so much. So we'll have a couple of more questions from this side, and then we'll be asking questions also from the audience. So to all the attendees, feel free to ask questions using the Q&A function or the chat. So we will read some of them to our panelists. So now learning about your journey and also your business models and how you're interacting with your customers. Tell us something more about your customers. From what we have heard, it sounds like you are mainly trying to target millennials, for example, using social media or QR codes and so on. Is there where you're seeing this movement more present and starting?
For us, we distinguish between our consumer and our customer, who's the decision maker. So we have a decision maker who buys coffee for their entire office, and then you have maybe 300 consumers in an office that drink the coffee but didn't actually make the decision to purchase it. And often what we find is that the consumers may be millennials, and they'll be really understanding and supportive of our product, but the decision maker may be someone that doesn't quite understand and is used to purchasing coffee off a shelf and looking at the price. And I think that for us, that's where we've had such a big focus on communication, because you have to penetrate a market that doesn't really understand or appreciate the circular economy or social enterprise naturally, I guess. One of the ways that we've done that is by doing a really detailed breakdown of our unit economics. So if you spend $35 on a kilogram of coffee, this is how much goes to the farmer, this is how much it costs to bring it to Australia, this is how much the canister costs, and this is how much it costs us to repurpose your waste. And when they see that breakdown, they're able to appreciate all of the different components that go into the product and then make an informed decision. I think if we were communicating to millennials, full stop, our life would be a lot easier. But maybe that's the case for some of the others.
Oh, okay. Our customer base cuts across people of different age groups, and Tiger Nut is one that is very popular in Ghana. So marketing products like ours is not that difficult. The product source itself, the raw material in itself is so. However, we target people of low income earners, and because of how nutritious the Tiger Nut is, we believe we should ensure that everyone, should be able to consume such nutritious products. So we've paired our prices such that people of any class could be able to afford the product. And about the communication bit, as startups, sometimes going for huge advertisement like television and radio is quite on the high. So we adapt, like my colleagues have said, social media, stickers, banners, flyers, and sometimes you people would go on our website to read more about our product. And I would say our product is such that people that are conscious about their health, those are the people that fall on for our products. And I think it's been good so far, so good.
Well, for Live Up, health is also a very important factor for the consumers. So we have different customers, but as is a 100% online company, we had a lot of young people, mainly from big cities, urban areas. Most of them are millennials or a little bit older than the millennial generation. And so people are, as Sampar said, are taking attention of their health and what they are consuming, but also people know that they can make a difference throughout their actions and choices. And I think as time goes on, companies also realize that they are also responsible for their actions and choices. So I think we're moving from this more consciousness capitalism, where people know that if they buy one product, if they have two products that are exactly the same or interact the same value, but one company communicate or does something better for the environment they're in, then it's a natural choice. If one is more expensive, then it might be a little tricky. But the circular economy also have the principles to do it in a more efficient way. So at least for Live Up, we do not believe we would implement economical circular economy principles that would make our product cost more and then price point our product at a higher point, but communicate that we can have the same competitive value for the millennials, and then they would naturally choose the one that is contributing to the world, actually.
Our product, and especially in USA, is targeted to the millennials who surprisingly are keen on eating healthy, and they also want to have more transparency about the product. They want to be able to trace it, to know really whether what it is being told about is what really it is. And that's why we have included some of the features we have, like Find My Farm, so that we can build that credibility. They fit well into our product. They are more ready to try something new. Some of the fruits we are introducing in USA, like dried jackfruits, are fairly new and exotic. So this category of people will be more willing to take it up. So that forms our big target, and it informs our strategies, including our marketing strategies.
Thank you very much for your interesting insights. One other critical factor is measurement when it comes to circular economy. How do you measure your circularity?
So I can start with that. So we have to measure that to drive our goals and objectives inside the startup, the food tech. And we use the food waste because it's something very important for us and to decrease these numbers. So we have a connection with the banana growers, and they have the banana waste numbers, and we have our goals we base our goals with the banana waste from the growers. So we have to work and engage with them to understand what and how to drive our goals too. Because if they have a lot of production, banana production, we have to try to absorb this kind of production to make our products, and sometimes donate and help them to don't store a lot of waste and throw away, for example. So this is our main goal, our main objective to measure too.
It's done by weighing how much of what and what and what. It starts from how much of the nuts we were able to source and process. Because like I said, tiger nuts has a post-harvest loss rate of 30%. So if we are, whatever amount
We lost him a little bit there. Sambar, you've frozen a little bit. Yes. Hopefully you'll be back so we can have your point. Does someone else want to take it on first, and then I hope he'll be back to share his wisdom in a minute.
All right, I can talk a bit. First, it's the way we measure it's by monitoring the percentage of organic food that is coming from at our factory, and also the amount of ingredients that is coming from the planted productions from our farmers. So sometimes we just buy organic food from other farmers that we do not have partnership with, and most of the times we buy it from these farmers. So the percentage of the food that coming from these planted productions is a way to measure it. And also food waste, it's a measurement that we often use. So actually getting to know how our operation is going. And the NPS is a measure of the customer satisfaction. So it does not measure the circular economy, but it does how the consumer are perceiving our product. So that's also something very, very important. We do not have any measures on CO2 at the moment. So we are thinking about how to structure that and what would be the advantages and the disadvantages. But as of now, that's measures.
Well, measuring the metrics of circular economy of food is something that we are now starting to ingrain. So there is a lot of learning for us. But nonetheless, there are some aspects that we had already been measuring that are relatable and that we are going to improve on. And the first one, like Pedro, is on food waste, which is rather easy for us. We know most of the fruits that we are, for example, adding value to and buying is fruits that would have almost certainly gone to waste. So we are able to measure that as something that we have addressed directly. Whereas I would not say that we are doing very well in measuring the CO2 emissions, we have some proxy indicators towards that we are using to measure that. For example, the simplest one, for example, is on the transportation aspects, where we are estimating how many, for example, trucks would have needed to transport raw fruits from one point to another. We know the distances that we usually cover our fruits, and how many we need to transport those fruits based on now that they are dried and they have lost perhaps over 80%, 85% of their weight. So whereas issues about measurement still being improved, those are some of the things we're measuring. But we are also measuring the social impact of our work, which we already have an elaborate kit of tools in our results-based model.
For us, I would say we're probably only measuring 25% of all of the different metrics that we would love to measure. And I think that's because the circular economy is quite complicated and also quite costly as a startup to prioritize measuring when you also want to grow and reach financial sustainability. But at the moment, we're working with our partners in Uganda to understand exactly how many farming families we're buying from, how many kilograms of coffee cherries we're buying per year. And then all of our profits go back to Uganda. So we measure how much land is regenerated, how many native trees are planted, and then the kilograms or tons of carbon dioxide that those trees sequester over their lifetime. In Australia, we measure how many single-use packages we have eliminated by using reusable packages, how many kilograms of coffee we have saved from landfill through repurposing, and also how many tons of carbon dioxide that then saves when they don't end up in landfill. But I could rattle off a whole list of things that we've got on our dream list to measure as well.
Sampari, we see.
Yeah, so sorry, my line dropped. So like I was saying, tiger nut is a crop that has 30% post-harvest loss in Africa here. So whatever amount we source, we've in the first place saved the environment of some waste. And then so our first unit of measure is how much of the nuts we source and we are able to process. The second thing is how much of the byproducts we were able to turn into biscuit and starch spray. Ordinarily, 25% of the nuts would have gone waste if we were practicing a linear production. So let's say in a year or in a month, if you're able to process 1 ton, 25% of the ton is about 250 kilograms. So in a month, we know that we've saved the environment of 250 waste. And by that, we're able to estimate the level of carbon dioxide that would have released into the air if it had ended up at the landfill site. And also about the eco-friendly packaging. How many units of product were we able to churn out in the given time? We know that ordinarily plastic packaging weighs within 3 to 5 grams. So considering in a year, if we're able to churn 1 million units and taking 5 grams as the standards, we know in a year we've saved the environment of, say, about 500 kilograms, which is about half a ton of waste if we had not replaced it with a biodegradable one. So these are some of the units of measurement that we use in measuring our circularity.
Thank you very much. We'll now pick some questions from the audience. So we have, for example, Javine asking, what were and are your key sources of funding? And how much did the concept of circular economy contribute to obtaining the funding?
That's quite an interesting question. Let me talk about ourselves. We started this as students in the university. So after a series of works up and down, back and forth, as students, as a project, all by way of studying to know how best we can exploit tiger nut to its best potential. So we realized, it got to a time where we realized like people like the product that our friends were coming to and so, oh, wow, this is great. Can you turn into this? Can you do that? So we thought of making a business out of it. Then as to the students, funding was difficult. So we had to pitch our idea to our friends and families for some form of funding to help start something small. That was how we got our funding. But along the line, we've got some people coming in, and we got some grants also, about some 5,000 for expansion and all that. Talking about how we can, how circular economy will help us like recoup the money. It's something that the measurement of that is very difficult. However, I believe when you talk about circular economy, it's not so much about the profit. That's what we believe in. It's about the care we have for environment and for humanity. Yes, to a very large extent, business is about profit making. But humanity must exist before profit making. Of course, we are surviving, we are making some good monies. We cannot say because of the circular economy, we've lost so much money, or the circularity of our business has prevented us from making any extra significant monies. So it's difficult for us to measure such units. That's what I would say.
Pedro, would you like to go next? We know you just raised money, so we would like to know more.
Yes, so we have venture capitalist funds invested on LiveUp. We've been through Series A, B, and C already. It has, I think there's a lot of, when there's C said holistic for the three words of Kua, I really felt that at LiveUp as well, because I would not say that our key circular economy principles were decision makers for the investments to invest at LiveUp. But when they see the whole business model and the whole concept that we were delivering, they thought it was very interesting, because we offer healthy meals, and organic and local food has a lot to do with the health aspect of the food. So the clients know that it's actually a good quality ingredient. And when we tell about our whole processing, our production processes, and then we do not have waste, and we have everything that we plan with the farmers, we can actually reuse it and package and do not have any inefficiency in that way. That's also very attractive for the investors. So I think the overall package of how do you pitch your company, and how you pitch that, how you're tackling every aspect of your operations of your food chain, it's something that has a lot of value, because it means that your company and your business model is sustainable. So you can actually grow and scale, and you have a very solid foundation to do so. So I think it's about telling about the whole thing and everything that we've been working on.
Okay, by way of adding to what my colleague said, circular economy is not all that expensive and not that bad. It could be expensive when it comes to areas like packaging, because for eco-friendly packaging is quite expensive. But like our story, 25% of our raw materials would have gone waste if we were practicing linear. So the circularity alone is helping us save 25% of the cost of our raw materials. That also comes with some profit margins and all that. So circular economy is actually a button if well implemented, and if the society buys into the idea of circular economy.
Thank you. Thank you very much to all of you. I believe we are approaching the end of this session, sadly. So thank you again to all our panelists from Feitosa Foodtech, Kua Coffee, Tiger House, LiveUp, and Agricycle Global. Thank you very much. And again, congratulations for your incredible journey. To wrap up a little bit for our attendees, we talked about integration, about the importance of feedback, about impact, resilience, innovation, about digital tools, and the very, very importance of collaboration ultimately. And also we have learned about their personal and professional stories and how much TF has helped them in this journey to understand more about their business models and how they can better integrate the circular economy of food principles. So thank you very much again to all of you. Hopefully we'll have more of these sessions. Thank you so much again to the TFF team for inviting me. So wish you a wonderful rest of your day and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Simona. Indeed, thank you, everybody. Thank you for being a lovely host these 3 last sessions as well, and for joining us today to all attendees. Our next topic and our next live sessions will be all about the supply chain, and we've got some brilliant speakers coming up. So, you know, find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you want, Thought for Food, to find out about the next sessions and to join us. And I hope you've had some interesting talks these last 3 sessions, and especially today. So thanks to all of you. And I hope to see you soon. So bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, team.
Have a
Great.
nice day.